Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June meeting of the Planning Commission. I'd like to first announce that translation services are available off to the side if you need those at any point this evening. And so let's start with roll call.
Acosta? Kammer? Here. Rodriguez?
Here.
Sarmiento?
Here.
Tavares?
Here.
Jones?
Here.
Veach Olson?
Here. And will you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. And now it's time for presentations and oral communications from the public and the Planning Commission. This is the time set aside in each meeting for members of the general public to address the Planning Commission on any item that is not on the agenda, which is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No action or discussion shall be taken of any item presented, except that any commissioner may respond to statements made or questions asked, or may ask questions for clarification. All matters of an administrative nature will be referred to staff. All matters relating to Planning Commission will be noted in the minutes and may be scheduled for discussion at a future meeting or referred to staff for clarification and report. Any commissioner may place matters brought up under oral communications on future agendas. All speakers are asked to fill out a card and leave it at the podium, announce their name and address in order to obtain an accurate record for the minutes. So I'd like to open it up to oral communications from the public. Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commissioners. Fellow commissioners, any oral communications for the public? Yes.
I wanted to Open Streets was on Sunday, June 2nd, and it was a really wonderful event where the Brennan Street was closed. Brennan and Union were closed to traffic, and people could ride their bikes or dance or walk or cartwheel through the street, and Principal Planner Meek was there, and there were a lot of people there, and just enjoying the atmosphere and the street that was open to kids drawing with chalk and riding their tricycles, and it was just a really fun event, and a park in the street. That was really great. I have a couple of announcements. Starting on June 20th, there is music in the plaza. It's every 2 weeks, I believe. And I'm not sure what the program is going to be for this year, but it's always a really fun event. It takes place right here in the plaza. And it starts around 6 and 6 to 8, 8:30. And it's great music. You just can sit around outdoors and enjoy the music and your friends, and it's just a really fun time, very local event. The other thing I want to announce is that there's going to be a Watsonville Criterium. That's a bicycle race. It will take place on July 6th. This year, we here in Watsonville are hosting the Northern California Championships. And so on July 6th, from about 11 to 6 p.m., there will be bicycle races. A lot of these are professionals. It's a very exciting event. They go around several times, so you get to see them as they go around and cheer for your favorite person. There will also be other events for the community having to do with bicycle riding. It takes place in the Brewington neighborhood, right by where EA Hall and Minty White are. It starts around there. So July 6th, right after the July 4th events, and then that weekend, that Saturday. That's all.
I just have a couple of announcements, and then we can move on too. This Saturday, there's the Mayor's Bike Ride. It starts at 10 a.m. It's on the Levee Trail. Meet at the Buddhist Temple. It's a family-friendly event. It's also fun, and we're supposed to have lovely weather. So if you're interested in going on a bike ride with your fellow community members, I urge you to check that out. And summer is almost here, which means it's almost fireworks season, so please keep your pets safe. I'm always worried about my dog, who's terrified of fireworks, so know that those are coming. And my last one is just congratulations to all the graduates of the class of 2019. We are in the midst of graduation week, and it's exciting, so we wish you much success and great wishes on your future endeavors. Seeing no other comments, I think we can move on. All right, public hearings. Item A, a recommendation to the City Council on an application for an amendment to the Coastal Development Permit, Special Use Permit with Design Review to allow the construction of a new auditorium building on the existing Pajaro Valley High School campus, filed by the Pajaro Valley Unified School District applicant and property owner. We'll begin with a staff report.
Good evening, planning commissioners and members of the public. I'm Justin Meek, principal planner for the City of Watsonville, and I'll be presenting this project. Just by way of an overview, I'll provide some background on the coastal development permit for the original high school and how we got to today. Highlight the location and the requirements per the coastal zone, the review process and the required findings that are needed. A brief touch on the project itself. Also, the issues and analysis that was conducted for this, which is in greater detail in the staff report. Touch on the environmental documentation that's been completed for this project, the required conditions and findings that will, again, allow for a recommendation of support for this project. By way of background, the original high school was approved back in 2001. It involved, following a major amendment to the local coastal program, the application for a CDP for the project, for the high school site. It involved 10 buildings to accommodate up to 2,200 students. It's clustered in the middle of a large property owned by the district within a 32-acre development envelope. At that same time, there was some back and forth between the Coastal Commission and the city and district regarding the high school, and there was also a clarifying memo, one of which highlighted that the subject site would need a coastal development permit amendment for allowing any additional development, which is why we're here today. Years later, the district looked to provide additional facilities for this and other school sites throughout the district. They authorized a bond measure, which was passed in 2012, that identified a number of projects, including this auditorium project. A few years later, they prepared conceptual plans for the auditorium building, as shown here, and then conducted an environmental analysis, which took the form of an initial study for the proposed auditorium building. At that same time, when they applied for CDP amendment, Caltrans deputy attorney and planning staff for Caltrans issued a letter in opposition, in large part having to do with airport land use compatibility policies and the fact that the city's general plan had not been updated, or the general plan update did not include policies, and the writ return based on the court case had not been resolved. So at that time, staff cautioned against recommending approval for this, feeling that the findings could not be made. It was, however, approved, but when the notice was given to the Coastal Commission themselves, they did not recognize it as the action being done properly and found specific items being deficient, namely the required findings and conditions were not the basis for the approval. And so they wrote a letter, which is included in the packet, explaining this and the fact that they did not have a recognized coastal development permit to allow them to proceed with project construction. Subsequently, the district moved forward with the athletic field project. And I include this because it set up a settlement agreement between the district and the Pilots Association to deal with the issue of airport land use compatibility policies. And based on that settlement agreement, they had a joint request to Caltrans, and from that, they provided a letter outlining limited grandfathering for the athletic field project first, and then the auditorium project next. That project went before the council after going to planning commission for recommendation. It was approved, include all the required findings and conditions. That project was not appealed nor found to be deficient, and they've been allowed to move forward with that project. In fact, they had a groundbreaking not so long ago. So to today, we have a resubmittal of the application so that we can do the process properly this time. And with that, there was another letter from the deputy attorney from Caltrans that again called for limited grandfathering for this project and outlined guidance for approval by the city. Just for everyone's, including the public's understanding, the purpose of the coastal zone is do everything to provide separate and exclusive regulations within the zone, in large part to implement specific policies and to really help protect and foster agriculture and ensure that environmental sensitive areas are again maintained and protected. So the whole purpose of the coastal zone is really to help protect the surrounding area from development in many cases. And so that's why you have this lot of requirements and a very extensive analysis for demonstrating that this project is consistent with those regulations, would not present a potential harm, and therefore can be approved. Specifically, there's analysis in terms of the land use policies and the specific members of the implementation plan, which is in essence the zoning code that's being codified in Title IX of the city's municipal code. There are two basic findings that need to be made, and one of which is that the proposed modification would not lessen or avoid the intended effect of the approved coastal permit for the original high school, and that the modified project would be consistent with the certified LCP. And of course, to make that consistency finally, you have to do the analysis of all the specific measures. The proposed project is a new auditorium building. It's roughly 15,000 square feet in area and would have 450 seats. You'll note that the maximum building height is only 30 feet, which is consistent with the maximum building height for any building in this zone. And this picture shows that its location will be right next to the administrative building and cafeteria. Here's just an aerial photo showing the undeveloped portion of the existing campus where the auditorium is proposed. And of course, a plan view as well, illustrating in the dark gray, the new building with a new path of travel and landscaping surrounding it. This is just to show a side elevation view of the front entry to the building. Again, behind you would be essentially the administration building. The specific issues that were evaluated in detail include everything from the use, building coverage, to visual resources, airport land use compatibility, drainage, and restrictions in terms of environmental sensitive habitat. I will not go into greater detail unless you have follow-up questions, but just want to highlight the various issues that were evaluated. And as included in your attachment 14, there's the consistency table that again goes through each individual section, highlights what it's about. So for example, in terms of lot dimensions and building envelope, notes how it's consistent. So in this case, the project is located in the developable area as shown in the land use plan figure 2A and has a development envelope less than the maximum allowed of 42 allowed for public use. And again, without going through each and every one, this is where you can find specific notes on how the project is consistent with these sections of the implementation plan. As I mentioned before, the environmental review for this project was in the form of an initial study, mitigated negative declaration, and this was completed back in 2017. I should also note that the mitigation measures included with that document have been incorporated as new conditions of approval, which was also one of the conditions of the letter as outlined in the letter by Caltrans Deputy Attorney. Just by way of reference, the original CDP had 100 conditions. The settlement agreement, there's 5 more that were added to it, then as well as the athletic field mitigation measures were added to it the last time. There was a few additional measures that were added by staff per the the athletic field project, and the new conditions of approval are numbers 126 through 129. So as conditioned, the Planning Commission may make findings in support, as I've noted before, the two findings, and therefore staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution recommending that the City Council approve the amendment to CDP number 00-28 to allow construction of a new auditorium building on the existing PV High campus located at 500 Harkins Slough Road. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
I'd like to open it up to the planning commissioners to ask any clarifying or technical questions of city staff before we have the applicant presentation. Yes, Commissioner
I have a
Sarmiento.
question. Well, first of all, it sure took us a long time to get here, and congratulations to the school district. I know that the students have been waiting for this for a very long time, so this is really exciting. The only question I have is, what about parking for any of the events? Is there sufficient parking on campus already, or is that addressed anywhere?
This is not considered a further intensification of the sites, just to accommodate school events, and so no new parking was required.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kavner.
I have questions about the drainage. So it looks like the footprint is almost half an acre.
Mm-hmm.
And what, that's the footprint of the actual building though, right? The
No, the
15,000 square foot
the-
building, or the whole pad?
The project site is about half an acre.
Okay.
The amount of impervious surface is about 0.43, if I recall correctly,
Yeah, that's what
which
it
would
says here.
include the pathways as well as the footprint for the building itself.
Okay, and so can you go over the drainage just briefly? Because, I mean, this being in a wetland habitat, drainage is crucial. It's also part of our water supply, so I would just wanted to make sure that the drainage is sufficient for the...
I'll do my
the
best.
area.
This was studied in
Brief,
detail
it's brief.
by our engineering staff, and what they were able to demonstrate is that it meets the city's post-construction stormwater requirements. And to do so, what they've done is introduce underground chambers. So it will direct water into these underground chambers that will control the flow and discharge, as well as do treatment. And that's how they're addressing stormwater. So rather than rely on the existing facilities, because there's some existing series of detention basins along the side, the water first would be directed into these chambers, and that's how the stormwater will be controlled.
Thank you very much.
Any other clarifying questions? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to invite the applicant to give a presentation.
Well, good evening. I'm Joe Dominguez, Chief Business Officer for Pajaro Valley Unified School District, and joining me this evening is Matt, our esteemed principal for PV High School. Good evening. First off, I'd like to commend Justin and Susie for their collaborative and overwhelming support. This process is very tedious, but we worked in a collaborative manner to making sure that we submitted all documentation and met all the various regulations within the CDP. And we appreciate the recommendation to move forward. Overall, the project has a minimal impact, but a positive impact to the school site for program and for our students, bringing both music, cultural, theater, and other programs with at the site. We are continuing to work with our architects and finalizing very details of the auditorium itself and making sure that it fits our program needs and as we move forward as a school site campus. At this point, I'd like to hand it off to Matt so he can explain just the benefits to the school student population.
Good evening, and thank you all for your support with this project. As you probably all know, for the last few years, PV High School students have been very vocal in trying to get the facilities put in place for their site, and the whole city's been very helpful in supporting us and trying to get us there. And I know it's a long, tedious process with a lot of these things, but the students are going to benefit with a growing visual and performing arts program. We now have over 70 kids enrolled in a band, and we don't have this space yet. We're trying to get them excited for it. We're telling the freshmen right now, we hope that they're going to be performing in this building at some point, maybe before they leave PV High School. We have over 70 kids right now enrolled in drama program, so this facility is also going to support that, as well as our Folklorico Club. And then Hope program grows through this building. It's also hopefully a resource for students in presentations and different kinds of school-related events that might go on for this building. So thank you again for your support. Appreciate it.
And one of the other components that, as the district, is we're looking at how to maximize resources. So not only is this a resource for our high school, but it's also a resource for our community. And so we have a facility use permit process through our agency that we open that up to our community in a collaborative manner. And so district has priority, but we also want to host other type of community events and at the auditorium. So thank you for your support, and we look forward to the approval.
Any clarifying questions or technical questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Commissioner Commoner.
What a surprise. Couple of questions. So I hear, what I'm hearing is that you're going to have mostly school-related events, but it's also going to be a resource for the community. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then what are the timelines for completion? I don't know. Are you the appropriate person to ask on both the athletic field and this auditorium?
So the football field with the track will be completed next year before the start of school. And we're currently on schedule and we're on track. And I'd like to thank the commission for that. And then we recently had the ribbon cutting ceremony, but work is underway right now as we speak. We do understand that the winter season is coming, so that's something that we're going to adjust, but we have that built within our schedule. Next steps, if approved this evening, our facility staff with our architect review, we look at various timelines, and given the coastal and the restrictions within the permit is what's feasible in regards to the timeline. So next steps is kind of review the timeline, making sure that we lock that in as we move forward. And then, of course, the public bidding process. So we look at a delivery method, advertisement, and we get the awareness out to get bids.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to open up the public hearing. So any members of the public who would like to address the commissioners or city staff or the applicant on this issue are invited to the podium right now. Seeing none, I will bring it back to the commission for an appropriate motion. Commissioner Sarmiento.
Yes, I would like to make the motion that we recommend this to City Council for approval.
I'll second that. And I'll open up to the commissioners for discussion. I'll get started by saying that I want to congratulate the students first and foremost, because this is something that they've been passionate and vocal about for quite some time. And I'm very pleased that the city staff and the Pilots Association and the Coastal Commission, as well as the school district, have all come together to find a collaborative solution, and that we are moving forward. And I'm excited to see the completion of these projects and what that means in terms of the high school finally feeling like they have the campus that they were intended to have many years ago when the project first started. So I will be supporting this wholeheartedly this evening. Yeah, Commissioner Tavares.
I just want to piggyback on those comments myself as somebody who's volunteered my own time there these past 8-9 years as the Grizzly announcer, and had an opportunity to meet a lot of the kids and parents, teachers, faculty. I've yet to encounter one student who disapproved of the idea of having their own facilities, like the football field, baseball field, auditorium. And I know that it really does bring joy to the students at the school, the idea of having their own place to just be high school kids. And you know, it's nice to see it finally coming into fruition. And I wish the school district the best of luck. And I'm looking forward to attending plays and performances and graduation ceremonies and award ceremonies and more events at the high school. And it's got my full support.
Commissioner Rodriguez.
I too want to congratulate the school district and PV High. As a PV High alumni and proud Grizzly, I feel like it's been so long in this process, and I still feel like there's so much that PV deserves and needs. And so to me, this is a big step in the right direction. So thank you.
Commissioner Kaminer.
I want to thank you, Matt Levy, for your dedication to this project and for your leadership on this, and also for being part of this at the, you know, seeing these projects to come through and seeing this, the high school to blossom into a full, you know, a facility where it can really serve all the students. So I want to thank you for that. The other thing I want to advocate for is there's still, because I live in the attendance area, I really want to advocate for safe routes to school, because a lot of the kids walk, and they walk on, when they have to cross 152, they walk along 152, they have to walk along Harkins Slough. Traffic is really, there's a lot of traffic, and it goes really quickly. So I also want to have us look at the larger picture and make that a safe campus to walk to or bicycle to, so that all students can be can get there in safely. Thank you. Oh, I'll support the project.
Seeing no further discussion or comments, I'd like to call for a roll call vote.
The motion is to accept staff recommendation, and I will do roll call. Kammer,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Sarmiento,
Yes.
Tavares,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Veach, Olson.
Yes.
The motion has passed.
Congratulations, y'all. You got an auditorium. All right, so now we're going to move on to item B, which is a consideration of a motion recommending approval of an application for a special use permit with environmental review to allow the establishment of a hard cider manufacturer, Santa Cruz Apple Cider Company, with a 300 square foot tasting room in an existing 1,504 square foot industrial tenant space located at 65 Hanger Way, Suite C, filed by Natalie Henz, applicant, on behalf of, how do you say that? Res LLC property owner, Sam. All right, let's begin with the staff report, please.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Amron Carmona, Associate Planner for the Community Development Department of the City of Watsonville, and I'll be presenting tonight's special use permit application. The first slide is the subject site for 65 Hangar Way Suite C for the Santa Cruz Cider Apple Company. The applicants are permitted to establish a hard cider winery in the 1,504 square foot tenant space at 65 Hangar Way. And I'm proposing to include a small tasting room to complement the winery, so customers may come to the business for hard cider tastings. According to section 14-16.503, subsection B of the Watsonville Municipal Code, a special use permit must be approved by the Planning Commission to establish a hard cider tasting facility in the Industrial Park zoning district. The hard cider winery is a principal permitted use in the Industrial Park and is not part of the special use permit application. Here is the picture of the subject site at 65 Hangar Way. There are two existing businesses. One is the Elkhorn Slough Brewery, and the other one is Totocom, which is a communications company. Hangar Way, or the Apple Cider Company, is going to be situated in between those two uses. The property, as we see here, this is the floor plan for the proposed Apple Cider Company on 65 Hangar Way. The business is proposing to establish the hard cider tasting as part of the Apple Cider Company. The tenant space is approximately 1,504 square feet, and approximately 300 square feet of area is proposed for the tasting room and retail portion of the business. The proposal to operate the retail component of the business requested to be open on Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Sundays from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. But since this commission hearing, the applicant has notified the city that it would like to propose changes to its existing proposal for business hours. So I'm going to leave that up to consideration for the Planning Commission for discussion. They actually want to be open Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and occasional Mondays for holidays. So I'll leave that up for consideration to the Planning Commission if they wish to change the conditions of approval for the project. Per the Watsonville Municipal Code, miscellaneous industrial non-manufacturing businesses are required to provide one parking space per employee on shift, plus one parking space for each 2,000 square feet of gross building area. The business will employ no more than 2 people at a given time, and the gross square footage is 1,504 square feet. Therefore, 2 parking spaces are required to accommodate this use. The property has 30 striped and designated parking spaces with room for truck loading and unloading at the rear of the property. The adjacent Elkhorn Slough Brewery requires 3 parking spaces, while Totocom requires 9 parking spaces. The total parking requirement for the existing and proposed uses on the property is 14 spaces, and 30 are provided. Therefore, the parking requirement is satisfied. The proposed project has been reviewed by the Watsonville Police Department, and no issues have been raised regarding the privileges a hard cider manufacturer license affords. In the event that additional activities are conducted beyond the requested tasting room, a special events permit will be required by the Watsonville Police Department to ensure compliance with all applicable ordinances and standards. With that said, the building and site at 65 Hangar Way are well suited to accommodate the hard cider tasting room subject to the conditions of approval. The establishment of the tasting room will bring new patrons to the city of Watsonville while also supporting the hard cider winery. The project, as proposed, meets all requirements of the Watsonville Municipal Code, and staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the project based on the attached findings and conditions of approval. That concludes staff's report. Does the commission have any questions?
It's not a question, but I did want to share with the public that the planning commissioners received a letter of support from Michael Enos and Julie Renhart this afternoon. They're the owners of Elkhorn Slough Brewing Company, the immediate neighbors next door, and they're highly supportive of the cider company and of these business owners coming in next door to them, and they were sorry that they couldn't be here this evening. Any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Sarmiento.
Only one question. You mentioned about a special use permit. Is that for special events? Let's say if they wanted to have some music, would they have to get a permit for that event?
Correct. If they wish to hold a special event at the facility, they have to get a special use permit from the Watsonville Police Department.
Each and every time that they have an event?
Each and every time they have an event. Because
I see.
we're not conditioning the project to be an entertainment site. It's more of a tasting room with the manufacturing as the main use of the hard cider. So in order for them to have a special event, they have to go to the police department and get a special use permit.
Okay. Will they also be able to have tables outside as well?
We did not look at this portion of the application. They did submit it in the original approval, but we are not including it in this special use permit application.
But at some point, they could possibly come back and ask for that.
In the future, if they wish to have outdoor seating, they could modify the special use permit to request outdoor seating.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Can you, so I have a question for staff specifically about the hours. In our packet, it says Fridays and Saturdays from 1 to 7 p.m. and then Sunday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Can you review, are those part of the?
I'm sorry, I made an omission, or I did not change that on my presentation, but you are correct. The staff report cites the correct hours,
Okay.
1 to 7 and 1 to 5, but they are requesting to change those from 11 to 10 o'clock. So that's what I said in
All
this
three
slide
of
over
those
here.
days?
So after they receive a notice of the staff report, and Natalie Hens, the business owner, contacted me to propose a modification to the conditions and specifically the retail component, or hours, I should say. And I told her that we already conditioned the project, that at this point there's no way for us to modify the conditions, but I can bring it up to the Planning Commission and have you or the commissioners discuss those modifications to the retail hours.
Okay, so as it stands on the staff recommendation, it's with the hours that are currently in our packet. That's
Correct.
Okay, and so it would be a discussion of the Planning Commission to talk about the extended hours.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I thought
Sorry, can you go back one slide, just real quick, to your
The hours.
the hours. So on this slide, it shows 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Our packets show 1 to 7.
Correct. It should be 1 to 7.
Okay, and then the requested modification is the 11 to 10.
Correct.
Okay.
I had looked, I thought I had made a note of it in the report, but it just, I thought you had mentioned it, and it was a difference there. The hours of operation for the tasting room are not the tasting room will not be open during the manufacturing of the cider?
Correct.
So it's like cider manufacturing and tasting room, they're not going to be, operating at the same time.
Correct. They're not going to be operating at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
Any additional clarifying or technical questions?
Just
Yes.
clarifying. The brewery is open until 10 o'clock, right? Or is that,
You are correct. It's open till 10 o'clock.
The approved hours are 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
All 3 days, that's Friday through Sunday?
No, she asked about the Elkhorn Soup Brewery's hours.
Right, but the Elkhorn Slough Brewery is open till 10 o'clock?
They're actually
on
open 7 days a week till 10 o'clock.
7 days a week?
They're
until 10.
approved
They're
to
approved.
be open till
Yes.
10 p.m.
But
they-
what are their
they're-
actual opening hours?
They're not, usually they close around 9 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the Elkhorn Slough Brewery actually submitted a modification to their hours back in 2016 to be open 7 days a week, I believe from 11 till 10 p.m.
But that doesn't come to us, that goes through staff, is that correct? That only goes to staff?
Yes, a modification only is done by staff.
Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions for city staff? Okay, I'd like to invite the applicant up for a presentation.
Commissioners, thank you so much. Am I talking? Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for being here. Thank you for all your hard work, Ivan. We really appreciate it, and Susie too. Thank you. We just want to introduce ourselves. I'm Natalie Hensey. I am a homeowner here in Watsonville. I have a son in the Pajaro Valley School District. We absolutely love Watsonville so much. And we are so happy to move our business of 5 years from Santa Cruz to Watsonville. It's going to give us a lot of chance to expand and become really who we want to be in our business. There's a couple things that Ivan didn't really have a chance to touch on that I just wanted to kind of implement, that we are both lead trained. So the EPC trains us to be know how to check IDs and how to tell if there's over serving happening or how to diffuse any sort of situations. We've both been in the business for 25 combined years as bartenders of this community, so in the Watsonville and Santa Cruz community. So we kind of feel like that just helps us move a little bit forward with this opening to the public process. Let's see. One of the big things I also wanted to bring up is our wanting to get involved with the community. We have this plan that we're calling the Neighborhoods United Apple Bin Project, where we're going to put a big apple bin in front of our spot, and people are allowed to bring all of their unwanted apple fruit to our spot there on Hanger Way. We'll then take it to our apple processing plant and make a Neighborhoods United cider blend out of it, and then invite everybody that helped be a part of that, get a voucher to get discounted ciders or anything of the like. And again, sorry for the confusion of the hours. That was completely my fault. I got some last minute advice that I should try and ask for more right up front, and I'm trying to take it while I can. So that was my fault. I apologize.
I am Nicole Todd, Natalie's sister. Yeah, with the hours thing, we just kind of wanted to match Elkhorn's hours so that we could do events together, maybe do a brunch in the morning or, stay open to 9 p.m. if they're busy. So, for the most part, we're probably going to be there about 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., but we just wanted the extended stuff so that we can include little things to do with the brewery next door. Something I'm really excited about moving to Watsonville is showcasing the apple history of Watsonville. And I'm sure you guys know, but Watsonville was called Apple City 100 years ago because they were #1 in the world for apples. And we love that, and we're super excited about it. We have a new Apple City label that my husband drew, kind of showcasing, looking like an old school apple box kind of label, and we're going to use all local apples for those labels. We buy a lot of apples from the Manns, which are here today, multi-generational apple farmers, as well as my husband and I live on the Reeder's property, which has been in the Silva family since 1880. It's been an apple orchard. So we're really excited to be part of the apple community here and kind of showcase that. We started really, really small, and we grew slowly and organically, and it's mostly just my sister and my husband and I doing all of the work. So we do a lot of the work off-site. We pick the apples and take them to the Manns facility where we have our press. And that's the dirtiest, toughest part of the job, is picking the apples and then pressing them. So what we're going to do at Hanger Way is literally just bring in the fresh pressed juice, ferment it, and package it. It's a completely closed system at that point. It just goes through pumps and tanks and then into bottles or cans. So a lot like a winery. It's not a very messy process. We will be removing any gross leaves back to the farm to compost, and then use in the next year's kind of composting and planting trees. We're also really excited that we will be the county's first dedicated cider tasting room with open to the public hours, if you guys approve us. For somewhere that's been Apple City for a long time, we're really excited about that.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to open up the public hearing. So now is the time when members of the public can address the commissioners and the applicant and the city on this agenda item. So please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the public record.
Good evening. My name's Jake Mann, fifth generation Watsonville apple grower family. My parents are here, Bud and Kathy. I live on Hames Road in Corlitos. We're managing about 100 acres of apples out around the 5 Mile House. I just want to speak in favor of this project. I think, again, they said it, but this will be the first cider tasting room. It's a great celebration of the crop that's made Watsonville so special. And It's, I think you've seen what's happened with tourism for wine and the breweries that have gone in the area, and it'll be really exciting when people can come here and finally have try some ciders that are made from the fruit here in the area. So, really hardworking folks, great neighbors. It'd be great to see them succeed here. They've been working real hard for years. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Yeah, please come down. Just, you can kind of line up in the aisle if you'd like.
Corral Reeder, my husband Phil and I are here tonight. We are Pleasant Valley residents, 1875 Hames Road. We have known these folks for several years. They have bought our apples to make their cider, which has really thrilled us because we had an entire crop of Gravensteins that probably would never have had any home. They aren't suitable, or the timing's not really suitable for Martinelli's. So, and that's actually how we met, was online when I was searching for somebody who would buy our Gravensteins. They are very hard-working, honest, sincere, dedicated people. And I'm really excited because hard cider has been a product of Watsonville for over 100 years. It's a tradition, and I think they will be a great and honorable organization to perpetuate that tradition for Watsonville and hopefully bring in some, touring and people who are interested, because that particular industry nationwide is growing, and it would be great to be part of that here in Watsonville. So thank you for your consideration of their application.
Thank you for your comment.
And I'm a food biochemist and a very great advocate of organic products. So I think I just want to clarify that I think the owner said that they were moving slowly and organically. I'm just wondering if this is going to be, or if it is a certified organic product that is going to be produced.
The applicant would like to speak to that.
Most of the apples we use are organic by default. They are not certified. We don't have plans to certify our business, as it is a very expensive, time-consuming, and paperwork process. I've done that for an organic brewery I used to work for, and the paperwork and money side makes it cost prohibitive as a small business. But organic produce is very important to us, and so that's what we focus on, is buying local organic apples.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to address the commission? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for an appropriate motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
I'd like to second that. The only thing is, though, we're also amending the hours to 10 o'clock, correct? So
you would need to make an amendment changing the hours to whatever you would like to suggest.
Right.
They be amended to.
Would you be willing to amend your?
Let's get the staff recommendation on the table, and then you can make your motion to amend it as you see fit.
Okay.
We do not have a second yet. Okay. And now, would you like to make an amendment?
Yes, I would like to make an amendment to include the change of hours to match the Elkhorn Slough Brewery, which is until 10 p.m.
Elkhorns were every day of the week. And
on the 3 days.
And Elkhorn, I think their proposal is 11 a.m. till 10 p.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And occasional
Mondays.
Correct.
Yes. So I would like to amend it to their request.
I just ask a question that maybe the applicant might be able to answer. Is it holidays or just Mondays, occasional Mondays, that you guys are considering? Sorry. We'd like to get it right.
So we would say occasional, as in some holidays fall on occasions that are Mondays. So probably just like a handful, really. But mostly those Mondays where all of the tourists are in town. We just kind of want to be able to be part of that part of our community as well.
So if a holiday falls on a different day?
Right, no.
Just Mondays?
Just Monday holidays.
Monday, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
That motion needs a second if you're going to discuss
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion and deliberation from the commissioners on the motion that is on the floor.
I think it's a great business idea, and it will bring some historical significance back to Watsonville, and I look forward to partaking and drinking some of the cider.
Yes, Commissioner Sarmiento.
I also like the idea, and thank you for looking at a space that is going to work really well with another business. I think that's crucial. And also that I know that the food truck is usually there. So I don't know if you'll be working together to make that happen. I think that's a great idea to be able to offer that to people as well. So good luck.
Yeah, Commissioner Cumner.
I want to say, I remember back, it was probably 4 years ago, when Elkhorn came to us for approval for their application. And one of the commissioners said, Dobie Jenkins asked, would they be pursuing cider, hard cider brewing? And at the time, they didn't have the facility to do that, and so that question was kind of left open. And so I want to say that this is really the marriage of the apples in the crop apples in this community with the hard cider is basically a no-brainer. My father-in-law came to this country in the 1920s, picked apples in this valley. And my husband went to school with Corral at Rolling Hills Middle School, and we've been to the farm, and so personally, I'm thrilled that you're doing this. So, thank you.
Other commissioners? I'm in favor of this project. Thank you so much for considering our community here in Watsonville. You have long family ties to the community as well, which I think really preserves the historical heritage of our community. And I do really like this little area that's being created on Hanger between the brewery, you all, the winemakers, which are right down the road, and so thank you for wanting to be a part of our community, and we look forward to supporting your business and watching it grow over the coming years. Seeing no further discussion, I think we can open it up we can call for a roll call vote.
Okay, so we have the main motion and we have the amended motion. I don't think you voted on the amended motion, so the amended motion is the hours. So you would vote on that. Assuming that's successful, you back to the main motion, and Deborah will call the question on that. That make sense?
So we're voting on the amendment first.
Voting on the amendment first.
Okay.
Hours of operation as amended.
So the motion is to amend the operating hours, and the operating hours are 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday to Sunday, and the holiday hours on Monday from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.?
10 p.m.
10 p.m., okay. Okay, so I will call the roll call vote now for that motion. Hammer?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Sarmiento?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Beach Olson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
So that's the amendment, and now we do roll call vote on the recommendation, which includes the amendment that just
Main
passed.
motion as amended with hours.
Hmm?
The main motion, the staff recommendation with the changed hours, that's what
Yes.
you're voting on now.
Okay, so the motion is to accept staff recommendation with the amended hours, and I'll do roll call. Cammer?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Sarmiento?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Beach Olson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well, and welcome. All right, and on to item C, a consideration of a motion recommending approval of an application for a special use permit to allow an existing retail and grocery store establishment, Target, to change ABC license from a type 20 to a type 21 to sell beer, wine, and liquor for off-site consumption located at 1415 Main Street, filed by Beth Abulafia, applicant, on behalf of Target Corporation property owner. And we'd like to begin with a staff report.
Hello again, Planning Commissioners. Once again, my name is Ivan, Associate Planner for the Community Development Department, and I'll be giving tonight's presentation. Well, Target is currently permitted to sell wine for off-site consumption pursuant to an administrative use permit issued in 2009. Target would not like to change their ABC license from type 20 to type 21 to allow the sale of beer, wine, and liquor for off-site consumption and to modify their store operating hours. The property is zoned residential medium density and was developed under a planned development agreement in 1996. Pursuant to the conditions of approval of the planned development approved by the City Council on February 13, 1996, the conditions require that commercial uses be reviewed under the Neighborhood Shopping Center zoning district. According to Section 14-16.1403, subsection B of the Watsonville Municipal Code, a special use permit must be approved by the Planning Commission to establish a grocery store with liquor sales for off-site consumption in the Neighborhood Shopping Center zoning district. The California Department of Alcohol and Beverage Control issues licenses for the sale of alcohol. The applicant's present 2009 ABC Type 20 license allows the sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption. Target has or intends to apply to ABC to change the existing ABC Type 20 license to Type 21. As you see here, this is the floor plan submitted by Target. They received a building permit in December of last year to do an interior remodel of the Target facility. The area highlighted on the screen is the one aisle that will be presented for the alcohol sales. As you see here in this slide, these are the proposed business hours changed. At the moment, they are open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sundays from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Target is requesting to modify their hours for Sunday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Saturdays 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Also with extended hours during the holiday season. So there is no change to the parking requirements. Target is not intensifying its use or adding on to the existing building. They're just simply requesting a change to their ABC license from type 20 to type 21. The proposed project has been reviewed by the Watsonville Police Department, and a finding of public convenience and necessity letter was required to be written to ABC, indicating that the sale of alcohol at this location is in the best interest of the city of Watsonville. Without this letter, ABC will not issue an alcohol license. Per Watsonville Police Department data, the store is in the U.S. Census Tract 1104. The site is in a high crime area, and the census tract is over-concentrated. 7 stores authorized and 9 currently exist, including the Target store. There are 9 licenses in a quarter-mile radius. 5 licenses are to serve beer and wine in a restaurant. 3 sell beer and wine for off sale, and 1 is a general license for all types of alcohol sales for off-site. So I've included the census tract. As you see here on the screen, the red highlighted area is the census tract for 1104. So it takes the whole area in consideration for possible crimes so it's not just looking at the existing shopping center or the adjacent vicinity of the shopping center. The high crime area is basically the entire area of the census tract. So I understand this might be difficult to approve, but please bear in mind that the high crime area is not just for Target or the shopping center, it's for the entire census tract. And the summary of types of crimes reported as you see here on the screen. So there's burglary of vehicles, selling liquor to minors, shoplifting, vandalism, mental illness, petty theft. These are the type of crimes reported in the census tract 1104, and this data was from January 2018 until now. This slide shows the existing licenses in the Overlook Shopping Center and also the adjacent shopping center, the Town and Country Shopping Center. So this is a mix of convenience stores and restaurants. We have Target, we have Food Max, we have Home and Brew, the grocery outlet, La Princesa. So these are all existing businesses that have an ABC license. And this is why it may seem over-concentrated, because in this vicinity there's a lot of retail components that create a good atmosphere for the residents of the city of Watsonville. This is a list of the existing businesses. The other one was a map, and this is the list of the exact businesses. So there's Town and Country Liquors, Grocery Outlet, La Princesa Market, Fish House Bar and Grill, Las Litas Restaurant. As you see here, there are many existing businesses with ABC licenses. Now, this slide here shows a quarter-mile radius of the type of crimes reported since January of 2018. So in this slide is mainly robberies, mental health calls, or mental health illness calls, vandalism, traffic incidents, nothing that's related specifically to Target. And this is just the pie graph showing the types of crimes committed in the Census Tract 1104. As you see, the biggest one is petty theft. The next biggest is bench warrants for misdemeanors. So the City Council, as a local governing body, appointed the Chief of Police in decisions related to public convenience and necessity in the issuance of alcohol licenses as required by the California Business and Professions Code, Section 234958.4. The council took this action by motion at the regular meeting on January 9th, 1996. The Watsonville Police Department has weighed both sides as it applies to specific location in the city and the specific applicant. Does the proposed establishment fit the goals of the city? Does the proposed establishment promote rather than detract from economic goals, plans, or redevelopment of the city? Does the proposed establishment pose a law enforcement or public health problem? Does the establishment help alleviate blight or a crime-affected area? In making the decision of public convenience or necessity in the target corporation application, the police department considered and weighed the following facts. So the police department made five facts. First one, the Target store has been located at this site since 1996 and has been selling wine since 2009. The second fact, there is a valid economic reason to consider in a store of this magnitude that will employ over 100 full-time and part-time employees. The third fact, Target will continue to provide cashiers and in-store security employees with responsible alcohol training. The fourth fact, Target has security cameras interior and exterior in the Watsonville store with a digital recording system. And the last fact, Target has and will continue to maintain policies and procedures to ensure that alcohol beverage sales take place in a responsible manner and to deter any potential crime, loitering, or other undesirable activity in or around the store. With that said, Target has operated in the city of Watsonville since the construction of the Overlook Shopping Center in 1996. With its recent store remodel of the grocery section, it also wishes to sell beer and liquor as a convenience to their customers. All employees will attend alcohol training, and the store has a security system in place to monitor the activities of individuals in the store. The store meets all requirements of the municipal code, including the zoning ordinance and the alcohol ordinance, and is being conditioned to allow the sale of beer, wine, and alcohol for off-site consumption. Staff recommends approval based on the attached findings and conditions. Does the Planning Commission have any questions?
I, of course, have several, but does anybody else have questions before I do? Because
I have a question, actually. I wanted to ask the police department what they thought of the extended hours, if that was a part of, I don't believe that was needed for the change, the ABC license change, but I do want to know what they think of.
You're correct. The ABC license change is not
hours.
required hours change, but Target decided at this time to modify its store hours.
Right.
Good evening, Commission. My name is David Rodriguez, Captain with the Watsonville Police Department. So specifically to the question about the hours, we are in support of that. I'd like to take it a step further back than that. So Ivan talked a lot about all the crimes within a quarter-mile radius. I'd like to just take it back to the Target store specifically. So in that same time frame, since January 2018 to the current date, there's been about 297 calls for service. Just generally looking at that, about half of those calls aren't even attributed to Target. An example could be an officer does a car stop and the car pulls over in Target, and our ending location to dispatches the Target shopping center. So unfortunately, that call for service gets identified as a Target call for service. So like I said, about half of those calls aren't even related to Target. More specifically, in that same time period, there's been only 68 crime reports taken attributed to that address of Target. In those 68 crime reports, only one has dealt at all with alcohol. The details of that call was after closing hours, someone was loitering on the property, showed up there already intoxicated. Our officers found that person and arrested them for disorderly conduct. Other than that, there's been no other crime reports related to alcohol at the location. Furthermore, with our ABC grant that we currently have running, on 2 separate occasions, we've sent our minor decoys into the store to try to attempt to buy alcohol from Target. Both occasions, our decoys were turned away. So the complete package for us is that they're responsible operators. They actually commonly work with us on all types of other crimes that happen. A lot of them happen to be theft, embezzlement, petty theft, shoplifting type of calls or crimes. So all in all, yeah, we're in support of it. We don't see any huge red flags with allowing them to be open an extra hour during the weekdays and an extra hour on the weekend.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Sarmiento.
Captain Rodriguez, so nice to see you.
You too.
What about shoplifting? You know, I know they already sell wine, so I would imagine that there's, even now, there could be an instance where somebody under 21 is shoplifting alcohol. How is that? Have you had any calls for that at all?
It's possible that there is that has happened. However, the calls that we've looked at, they're involving clothing items, makeup, electronic items, things like that. We're not finding a problem with people going into that store specifically stealing alcohol, as we would find that problem, say a quick, convenience store or whatnot.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cameron.
Good evening, Captain Rodriguez.
Evening.
Okay, I live 4 blocks from Target. And I know I have, and lots of others of my neighbors have, called a lot. Because what tends to happen, and I know it's not specifically, my concern is the hours that Target would be extended hours. What tends to happen is people drive up Clifford, they drive through, the round and round in the Target parking lot, and then they go Pennsylvania, or they go down and go up Freedom, and then they come back, and so it's this round and round, and on Friday and Saturday nights, sometimes Sundays and Thursdays, we hear constant traffic and noise and and that is my concern about having Target be open, because from my experience at Target, it's a magnet for people to kind of hang out in their cars and drive around, and that concerns me.
Unfortunately, that parking lot, actually more towards Main Street, has been kind of like a collection spot for modified car type of community, for lack of better terms. But part of that isn't really Target's responsibility, though. It's that general parking lot, the property management responsibility, because some of that parking there is shared with the other businesses around there. But you're right. It has been a collection spot for these cars. They do sometimes, commit vehicle code violations. We send our officers out there at times to just monitor. But bringing it back to alcohol related, although there has been that issue, we haven't found an issue with them using alcohol in the parking lot or alcohol being related to that modified car community there that hangs out there, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It's just I'm concerned that if Target's open later, it's going to be a magnet for, those types of activities even later in the evening. So that's my great concern. I mean, we hear those cars, and it's anyway. Who owns that shopping center?
I can answer that.
Okay.
The shopping center is owned by a bunch of different entities. Target owns its footprint, if you will, and a large part, but not all of the parking. The grocery store owns its pad, a large part of its area. The Starbucks store and some of those were owned by the original investors for a while, a few years ago. I think Starbucks may own that pad now. So it's a variety of people. And as Captain Rodriguez said, the parking, although it's owned by, for the most part, by individual stores, there's a cross easement and an operating agreement that all of the stores share in the operation of that parking lot. And I know that because I helped review it when that whole shopping center went all those years ago. And it's not much different than most shopping centers. And Target and some of the other big tenants have very specific requirements that they wanted to have as part of the development, and that's why the developer of that shopping center set it up that way. Well, that answers the question.
No, it does. I realize Target's not responsible for, vigilance in that parking lot, but again, it does tend to be a magnet for some of this activity. And part of, from my view, part of the issue is that it's not owned by one entity. It's owned by many different, so it's kind of like, oh, no, it's your job. No, it's your job. No, we don't need to do, no, that's not our, so it's like, I guess I'm concerned that there's not a collaborative effort in trying to make that a parking lot and not a speedway. But I guess that's a collaborative effort between the police department and the shopping center and the businesses in the shopping center. I also want to ask about the concentration of the over-concentration of alcohol licenses in that area. Thank you. Again, I live in that area, and all of my neighbors do too. And there is a lot of concern in our neighborhood about activity that goes on in some of those areas, not necessarily Target, but a lot of it goes on behind the La Princesa shopping center. I mean, that seems like a lot of, I guess some of them, okay, so the type 41 is beer and
The
wine
restaurant.
only?
Those are restaurants.
That's beer and wine only though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then the type, no, I know the 20 and 21, okay.
Type 20 is convenience stores, grocery stores that sell beer and wine. Type 21 is grocery stores that sell beer, wine,
Hard
and
alcohol.
liquor.
So we're looking at, and the Target is in there. Okay, so we're looking at 1, 2 stores that already sell hard alcohol. What are the opening hours of those 2 stores? So what are the opening hours of Food Max, and what are the opening hours of, is that the gas station, 76? They're the other type 21.
Food Max opens at 8 a.m., and I believe you're pointing at the type 20, which is the 7-Eleven.
No, the type 21, just in front.
Oh, that is Town and Country convenience store.
Okay. So what are the hours of Town and Country and the evening hour?
I believe it's 10 o'clock, 8 a.m. to 10 o'clock.
Okay, and they're both 8 a.m. to 10?
Yes.
Food Max as well?
Mhm.
Okay, so again, it seems to me that it is quite excessive that Target is asking for these extended hours. I also want to say, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time to say that, but I don't see any findings justifying the need for having extended hours. I understand wanting to go from a type 20 to a type 21, but is it not?
I think this is,
okay.
yeah, so the applicant
Okay.
still
Sorry.
gets to
Okay,
give
sorry.
their presentation, and that
Fine.
may, I think, yeah, we're just a little bit ahead.
Fine.
So are there any further clarifying and technical questions for city staff? Okay. Yeah, Commissioner Rodriguez.
I know you spoke on the Target crime related to their wine sales already and how, it hasn't really been an issue. But was there anything seen for Food Max, since they already have that type of license, that may be of concern at the Target site?
Unfortunately for tonight, I didn't prepare any numbers for Food Max.
Okay.
I could speak to my history of running an ABC grant there in the past personally.
Yeah.
We have sent decoys in there, and our decoys have been turned away just the same as Target. But in terms of numbers like I prepared for Target, I don't have any tonight, but I can get them to you if you need them.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions, I'd like to invite the applicant to give a presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Beth Abalafia. I'm here representing Target, and I've been working with Target on the alcohol licensing for their stores in California since they started selling alcohol back in the early 2000s. And I think that Mr. Carmona gave a very thorough staff report. The Target's been in operation in this location for over 20 years and has been selling wine for 10 years under an approved use permit. And we've had absolutely, no problems, as you heard from the police department, with respect to Target's alcohol sales during those times. Target trains its employees in responsible alcohol sales. Before a cashier is allowed to engage in alcohol sales, they have to go through an alcohol sales training program, pass a test, and so Target is very serious about making sure that their sales are handled in a responsible manner. And as was borne out by the officer's comments regarding the decoy sting operations that were conducted at the Target store. Target also takes security very seriously. It has a dedicated team of 5 security personnel who monitor the store and also monitor the parking lot. It has video surveillance cameras throughout the store and on the exterior of the store, including a camera focused specifically on the alcohol display area. So Target takes its responsibilities very seriously when it comes to alcohol sales. We are requesting approval now to upgrade from the Type 20 license to a Type 21 license, which allows sale of the full line of alcoholic beverage products for off-site consumption, as is sold in most Target stores in California. Most Target stores are licensed with a Type 21 license. With respect to the concentration of licenses in the area, since Target already has a Type 20 license, and that Type 20 license will be canceled upon issuance of the 21 if it's approved, there won't be any additional licenses added to the area. It will just be a modification of the privileges of the license. With respect to the high crime statistics, I think the police department looked at this very, very thoroughly. Certainly, they're the experts in whether there are potential crime problems that are likely to arise from this change in alcohol license, and their opinion is that it would not produce any problems. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Vanessa Trejo, the store manager, is also here. If there's any questions we can answer, we'd be happy to.
Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Jones.
Yeah, I had a question. In relation to, since you're seeing all the targets and you've helped with managing their licenses throughout the state, are you also seeing that these hours fall in line with what other Target stores are doing throughout California?
Yes, yes. And that's the reason for the request, because most of the Target stores are open at least until 11, and Target is moving stores to midnight, not every day of the week, but on Saturdays. So yes, this is consistent with what's being done at other Target stores.
Additional questions from commissioners? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to call for an appropriate motion. Oh, I'm sorry, public hearing. I'd like to open it up for a public hearing. Any members of the public who would like to address the commission or the applicant or the city staff on this item are invited to do so now. Seeing none, now we can move on to a motion.
You don't have to necessarily support and vote for the motion, even though you vote to have the motion discussed, if that's holding you back. So you could vote to have the motion considered and later vote against the motion if you chose to do so.
Make a motion. Make a motion to approve the recommendation or the proposal.
I'll second it.
I'd like to amend that motion. I'd like to propose that we approve the change to the, or the, we don't approve
21.
the change, but the 21 license, but keep the hours as current, as they currently are.
That requires a second for discussion.
I'll second.
Okay, so discussion and deliberation. Commissioner Sarmiento.
I don't think that the additional time the change of hours will really have such a big impact. I don't see people running to Target before they close to buy alcohol. I know that a lot of people would like to be able to go in the evening to do a lot of their shopping because it's not crowded. It's really easy to get in and out of the shopping center, the parking lot. And I would support the request of extending their hours.
I do too. I don't see any red flag or any issue with the extension of the hours, especially since it's falling in line with what other Target stores are doing throughout the state. I don't think that you can put the red circle on Target's back and blame, racers or people that are speeding through the streets of Watsonville on the Target corporation, or, because they want to extend the hours. I think that those people will find another place to congregate and partake in their illegal activities. And I would hate to reprimand or hinder a business that seems to be operating responsibly from doing something that could benefit their business.
I do have great concerns, as I have said. This Target is one block from residential developments on both sides of Main Street. The Targets that I can think of in Seaside, Marina, and Paso Robles, they're not within very close walking distance of neighborhoods. But the main reason is because I don't see any findings in my packet whatsoever for the need for extended hours. The fact that a corporation, that's what other stores are doing, does not mean that fits with our community. And we appreciate that Target has been here. I've been here as long as Target has, and I know that it is, in fact, my parents said that I live in cultural heaven because I live within walking distance of a Target. So they don't live here. And so I understand that, but I am also, I need to advocate for my community, my 5th district, and I have great concerns about the extended hours and as well as the fact that there are no findings that in my packet that say that there is a need for extended hours or a requirement for extended hours or a necessity at all.
I would like to say that I am in favor of switching the ABC license to the Type 21. And as far as the operating hours go, I was concerned about them. However, I do keep going back to what Captain Rodriguez shared about the responsible operators. And he did say several times that Target has been a responsible operator and that they work closely with the police department as well as the city and have conducted their business in a way that they are not, or that they are being responsible, and that I appreciate the systems that they have in place for training employees and making sure that they are also being responsible operators as employees of Target. Any further discussion? Okay, can we call for a roll call vote? And we'll vote on the amendment first. Okay.
The motion is to accept staff's recommendation, amending the hours by keeping the current operating hours. And I'll do roll call.
I'm sorry, can you?
I think the motion is to amend the staff recommendation to keep the hours as they are.
As they are.
As they are. That's the motion, to keep them as they are.
Cammer?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Sarmiento?
No.
Tavares?
No.
Jones?
No.
Beach Olson?
No.
The motion failed.
So now you're back to your main motion, which is the staff recommendation, unless somebody wants to make another amendment.
The motion is to accept staff's recommendation. Cammer?
No.
Rodriguez?
No.
Sarmiento?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Beach Olson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, and so motion passes. Staff recommendation, the Planning Commission approved the staff recommendation. So thank you for attending this evening.
Can I ask a couple questions about that? When is this all going to happen? What's the timeline?
Once the Commission's resolution is finalized and submitted to the ABC, then the ABC will finish its processing of our license application. My guess would be maybe a month after they receive the resolution of approval. I believe it depends on how long it takes them, but I think probably no more than a month.
And the extended hours?
That I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I would just like to ask Captain Rodriguez and the police department to please be more vigilant in that entire area. For those of us who live in the 5th District, there are a lot of people who are very hardworking. They don't attend these meetings because, they work a lot. And there are a lot of kids and just families, and they're trying to make a living. So please, if you could be more vigilant in that Pennsylvania, Clifford, Maine, Target parking lot area, please, I would like to request that. Thank you.
Just to address that briefly, definitely, of course we will. And now that we're switching gears a little bit, just about, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks ago, one of our teams did a operation there, and we were able to cite numerous cars, tow some cars. So we definitely are paying attention to that issue. We're aware of it, and we'll keep sending officers out there.
Okay. Secretary, do you have a report?
I do not have a formal report, just thinking of our next meeting in July. I'm not sure if the Fire in the Sky is going to be before or after our meeting.
It's the next day. We meet Tuesday and it's on Wednesday.
Okay, great. So don't forget to put that on your calendars. It's going to be July 3rd this year, not the 4th, so you get to sleep in the next morning and go to the parade. Thank you.
Okay. Then this meeting is adjourned.